Hi everyone, I'm Satish. Welcome to our next part of UiPath AI Fabric hands-on exercise and tutorial part 2. In this part, I'm going to cover how to use your already deployed ML skill into the project. We are continuing from the last video where we have created ML skills for the sentiment analysis, and in this video we're going to consume that ML skill by building our workflow and using the ML skill inside the UiPath Studio. We'll work on Google Apps comment sentiment analysis project, where I'll show you how you can use the ML skills into UiPath Studio, and then I'll also give you the link of my GitHub project repo so that you can download the code and practice while we go through this project example. Before starting about this project details, let's quickly look what all things you need before building this project. The first thing that you should have is UiPath Studio 19.10 plus. That means you should have 19.8 or the latest additions. You should have the Orchestrator, which is 20.4, which should have AI Fabric enabled. And as we have already discussed in the last video, that we have created a ML skills for the sentiment analysis, so that's not a problem. The other thing that you need to have is a license for the AI robot. So if you don't have the license for the AI robot, you can assign that to the tenant in which your AI Fabric is enabled. Once you have these three requirements, you should be able to create a ML project and consume the ML skill into the UiPath Studio. So let's get started. The starting point could be you can download the already created this working example from the GitHub. The repo contains all these work XML files, and you can download the working example of the sentiment analysis with out-of-box ML package including human validation in loop. This will help you to understand the code in a better way, and this will also help you to create your own working example along with the tutorial. So I'll suggest you to download this project from the GitHub and start working along with me to understand this project in better way. Alright, so now let's talk about what are the dependencies, what are the project dependencies, and do we need to have any additional packages for running a ML skills into your project, and what all those packages are. To let you know, for running any ML skills activity inside your project, you should have UiPath.ml services.activities enabled, that you can quickly go into the manage packages, and from there you should be able to enable the ML packages, which is this one. I have already this package installed, so I don't need to install it again. But if you don't have this package installed, you should simply click and install it and save, so that your package will be live. All right. So this is the one of the activity. Apart from that, there are a couple of other activities which are required along with this ML skills activity. One activity is UiPath Web API activities. This will be required because the internal working of those ML skills work exactly in the same way how the web APIs communicate. So the core underlying feature of ML skills are they are still using the web API activities. That's the reason it is required. Other thing that you require is UiPath persistent.activities, because we are building a human in loop activity where we'll be creating a task action for a user to validate on the orchestrator and provide the feedback, so that this ML skills could be retrained again using the data that is generated from the human validations. So that's all about the project dependency about this project. So let's quickly start what this project looks like and how we have developed this project. All right. So if you look at the main workflow of this project, you will see we are starting with a flowchart. And in flowchart, the first action is a log message. So that's a pretty simple a log message saying that we are going to start a project. The second step in this main workflow is read reviews. So this is the block, or this is the workflow. We have invoked a workflow here. So this is the workflow which contains how we can read a reviews. We can build our own workflow to get the reviews from the using a Google API, or we can create a long series of steps to get it from the Android stores or Play stores. But for the sake of simplicity, what we have done is we have already downloaded all the data and kept them into a CSV file which contains the review of approx 10,000 Google apps, and it has approx 60,000 records. So that's we're going to use into this project. So for that initialization of the project, we have created a workflow. That workflow is a sequence. In this sequence, we have two steps. The first step is obviously reading a CSV file. So what we are doing is we are reading a CSV file which is kept inside a data folder and storing the output of this CSV into a data table so that we can perform operations on each of the comments inside this user review data sets one by one. Let's quickly look at the user review CSV data that we're going to work upon. So if you open the data set, you should be able to see it has these many columns. It has already sentiment and sentiment score and subjectivity. Those are generated from the different models, so I'm not going to use those columns. The only column that we are interested in this project is translated review, which is nothing but English translation of all the review that is available on a Play Store. So we are going to use this particular column to get the comment, and then we'll be using a ML skill to understand the sentiment of the given comment by the user, right? And then we'll also pass a human validation if the sentiment confidence is low. That means if the sentiment given by the ML skill is low or negative, then we can pass that to a human worker to validate whether that is really a negative comment, so that the model can be retrained again. Although for this example we do not going to retrain the model because the ML packages that we have used is not retrainable, but that's the example how you should be able to retrain it, right? So let's quickly go back to the workflow and see how we have designed it. So in the init part, what we have done is we have read the comments files into a data table, and then we have declared two variables. One is basically a current row so that we understand on which row the bot is working on, and then we have also assigned a variable which basically counts the number of records we have into data table, so that we can create a loop to check if the current row is less than the total number of rows, and we loop over the data table to get comments one by one, and then calling the ML skills to get the sentiment. All right, so let's close this init part and then go back to the main screen. And here, so we are done with log messages and read review, which is nothing but init part, because we have initialized a data table which contains all the comments. Now we have another workflow which is pretty simple to get the next app review. So what we have done here is we have created a new workflow just to break the entire flow of this project into smaller parts so that they can be reused and better modularity. So in this example, what we have done is we are checking if the current row is less than total number of row. We are assigning the translated review column that I have shown into just now a couple of minutes back from the CSV file into a variable which is of string type. And then if there is a record, I am assigning this bool variable to true so that bot can able to decide on next records. So that's pretty basic example. It's pretty easy. These two workflows are there, and then we have used a switch statement if there are next record. So this can go and calculate the sentiment of the comment. If there is no records, it can directly go to the end, which is nothing but we are updating it into a updated file with all the data that we have. So you can design whatever the way you want to design. Once the sentiment calculation is done, you should be able to create all your post step. That's not the basic agenda of this video. the main focus point of this entire video is how to use the ML skill. So the ML skill is used inside this workflow, and here we have used 3 arguments. So if you see these arguments, what we have done is we are passing the string variable, which is nothing but an app review, which is a comment, and then we are taking out the confidence and the classification. So confidence is nothing but a numeric score which is given by the model, that whether this sentiment that is been given by the model is good or bad. So if the confidence level is 0.99, that means the model is sure about the classification, and similarly we'll be getting a classification of the comment like negative, positive, very negative, very positive, and all those. So we should be able to look at those in details. Let's quickly open the workflow and how we have used this into workflow. This is pretty simple. This is a basic workflow that we have used. So in the workflow, we have received the input variable and we have cleaned the some junk characters. So you should be able to pre-process all your text here. And once that the process text is there, we are using the ML skills. So how you can use the ML skills? So if you let's quickly build a test ML skills, and there what we can do is I have created a new page and I'm gonna use the activities of ML skill. So for that, as we have already a package available for ML skill, so we'll type a ML, and then in ML we'll go inside the services and we click on ML services and drop here. Once you drop here, this activity will be available, and this is pretty simple. It's all it needs is you need to select the ML skill from the drop down. If you click on the refresh, you should be able to see all the ML skills that are deployed on the AI Fabric. So if you quickly go back and see what is the ML skill that is deployed on AI Fabric, you should be able to see this. So if you go here, and this is the ML skill that we have deployed. So the ML skill name is Google Apps Review, and this is the same ML skill which is listed here, right? So in the last video that we have created, the ML skill is available as a drop down here. So we'll select that. Once you select that, it will give you the description that is available on the description page, and it's saying what is the input type that you need to send. So we need to give the input as a text which need to be analyzed, and the output will be coming as the JSON file, and in the JSON file we need to read out the classification and the confidence score. The best part that I loved about this ML skill is you should be able to test it from here. So if you click on the test skill, then a new pop-up window will appear, and in this new pop-up window it gives the description about your ML skills. It tells you there you can type, say for example, my comment is good app, right? And then we test the sentiment of this comment. So you should be able to get the output of this particular. So you can see the output. The sentiment is positive because this is a positive comment, and the confidence is 0.93. That means the model is saying that I am pretty much confident that the comment that is been given by you is positive. So that's how it works. So it's a pretty simple to work. All you need to do is you need to pass the item which need to be given to the ML skill, and you will receive a JSON that can be deserialized or serialized based on the requirement you have to use in further flow. So let's quickly go back to our main flow, and there what we have done is we have used the ML skills from here. We have used the item which is a string that we have taken from argument as a workflow, and then we have this JSON which is coming as the still ML output. Now once this JSON is returned from the ML skill, we need to deserialize that so that we should be able to use the columns that are coming as the output, right? So here we have done, from the JSON dictionary we have read the confidence, and from the JSON dictionary we have read the column which is sentiment, and they are been assigned to the out confidence and out classification variables, right? So that's a pretty much working of the ML skills, and let's talk about the next step. So on the basis of the sentiment confidence score, we have created a variable which is nothing where we have kept the confidence threshold and set as 9. So let's set it 7 for now, and then we'll run this. If there is a confidence score which is less than this will be given back to the human validations, and then from there the result will be shaved into the text file or whatever the way you want to proceed it further, right? So here we have done a quick test of the confident score, and if confident score is greater than threshold, then okay, save and move to the next comment record. If it is not okay, then perform the human validations. This bit of piece is pretty critical, and this is really good example where you can implement a form task by using UiPath form task activities. And there we have designed a message box first. If there is a low sentiment score has been predicted by the model, and then we create a form task here that you can able to design using the form designer. If you have already worked with a form designer, you should be able to do it. We are not going to discuss about the form designer details in this tutorial because that's beyond the expectations from this video is. So you should be able to create a form. So this form will be presented to the human in loop to review your app comment and accordingly take the actions. All right, and then we will wait for human to take action. If human has taken the action, then only this workflow will be moved to the next record, because we have applied a wait from the task and resume activity. That's basically waiting for somebody to take action on the action center, and if action has been taken on the action center, then only it will move to the next record. And then at the end we are setting the data which is modified by the human on the orchestrator as a final result, and from there we loop into the comments. So that's all about the working of this Google App Sentiment Analysis project is, and it's a pretty simple. All you need to understand is how to invoke the test ML skills and all those. Let's quickly go and run this project, and we will also look at the action center where how the human in loop would be able to perform the actions. All right, so let's quickly run it. I'll run it from in a debug mode so that you should be able to see how it moves. And it is, we have just started the workflow. It's in an init stage. In init, it's reading the CSV file that is kept in a data folder. Now it has read the data table and it's looping over the comments that we have into the Excel file. And then in the sentiment of the comments, it will call the ML skills. Here you can see that the ML skill has been called, and it's passing the app comment that is read from the CSV, and it will receive the file as a JSON, and then it will also receive the confident and the classification from the ML skills. Once this is done, it will be writing into a write line activity. For the sake of simplicity, I have done it, and let's wait for a couple of more runs because I want to show you a human validation step where it will be validating if the confidence score of the particular comment is lower than the assigned limit to 0.9, so that we should be able to see the human in validation in action. So let's quickly go and run the workflow again, and this time we should be able to see a pop-up message saying the sentiment of the comment that has been calculated by the ML workflow is less than the threshold that we have kept, so that it will present a task into the action center into orchestrator, and we'll go to orchestrator, and then there we will assign that task to a human user, and then human will take action to resume the workflow again. So let's wait for a couple of seconds. It will create a So here you can see that there is a pop-up which is a message box written into my workflow whenever there is a comment which has been classified as a low confident, and now we need to go to the action center to complete the task before we can resume this workflow. This is a pretty good example because this will give a human in loop a way through which he should be able to understand when he need to take actions, and this will be a good example where you have to take actions in a attended mod robot. Let's quickly go to the orchestrator and then take the action from the orchestrator instance. For that, you need to go to your orchestrator. So I'll click here and go to the orchestrator. In the orchestrator, you need to go to the My Action page, and there you should be able to see there are two actions that has been assigned to you, and they need to be taken care by yourself. So if you click checkbox here, or you can do it by here, if you assign it to yourself and open, a form will appear. This is the same form that we have designed into the workflow, if you have clearly noticed, and the comment that is I like eat delicious food, that I am cooking food myself, and this, the classification is positive but the classification confidence is low, and that's the reason it has asked for human to validate. So here you should be able to take action whether this is positive or this is negative, or you should be able to create your own form designer to give different values if you want. So for basic example we have used this positive and negative, but you can be able to create a multiple text box and checkbox or uh, other fields to provide the value back to the workflow. So for this, I'll select this as a positive and submit it. Once I submit it, this task will be done and this is completed, and I can go back to the My Action Center, and now this task is completed, right? This one, right? The task is completed, and now I can go back to my workflow and then resume this. This will start working again. If the task is not completed, you should not be able to resume it. I am running it in a debug mode, that's the reason it is there. But when you run in run mode, the moment you done the task in the orchestrator, it will automatically resume, so you don't need to worry about. This is all about how we have built this ML skills first project. We have not used a feedback loop to send the data back to the AI Fabric, but in the next example, I'm going to show you how we can train my ML skill, and then we'll be sending the data back to AI Fabric to retrain the model. Thanks for watching. Happy automation. See you there. That's all for today. Thanks.